What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my NBA DFS contenders for FanDuel on Friday, February 5th. That's a lot of Fs. That really tripped me up. Anyway, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to my sim results as we get closer to lock. And finally, let me know in the comments section who are your favorite options on FanDuel for tonight's slate. We're rounding out the bottom of my top 10 with Evan Fournier, Domantas Sabonis, Kemba Walker, Andre Drummond, and Cole Anthony on the outside looking in. Who will be my favorites for today? It's time to find out. First up, we're looking at JERAMI Grant, small forward eligibility, still 6,800, so under that 7K price tag, which means I'm going straight back. 36.7 fantasy point projection, hits the goal 18% of the time, optimal lineup 25% of the time. Everything's the same. 35 minutes, big usage bump over his norms. He's at 26% for this season. 21.5 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, 2 stocks. Mild pace down spot against Phoenix. Chris Paul really slows that team down. Doesn't really matter all that much to me. 1.05 fantasy point per minute guy at 35 minutes, 6,800 at a tough small forward position. Just checking off all the boxes for me. I roster JERAMI Grant a lot. That's been a pretty solid thing for me so far this season, and it's not going to stop as long as he's under 7K. Number 4, we're going to NIKOLA VUCEVIC, center eligibility, 8,800, projected for 50. The goal's 53. He's in the optimal lineup 27% of the time. We know how banged up the Magic are. No Markelle Fultz. No Aaron Gordon, no Michael Carter-Williams, no a bunch of other guys that aren't as important. So 35 minutes for Vooch, 1.45 fantasy point per minute projection because he does a lot more when those guys are off the floor. 30% usage, 25 points, 12.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 stocks, and a really nice pace-up spot against Chicago, a team without much of a center presence. Vooch should be fine going up against Thad Young or Daniel Gafford or Lauri Markkanen. I don't think it really matters. This is an excellent spot for Vooch to have a big offensive game, and that's why you see him in the number 4 spot for the contenders. And now we get into the Oklahoma City value once again. Number 3, THEO MALEDON, point guard eligibility, 4,800, projected 31, optimal lineup 35% of the time. These guys are without George Hill. They're without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and now they're without Lou Dort, so the rotation is short, and there's plenty of playing time to go around. 35 minutes from MALEDON, a 0.88 fantasy point projection, 21% usage, 15.5 points, 5 assists, 4.5 rebounds, a pace-up spot against a terrible defense in Minnesota. This is really good for Oklahoma City. If they're going to play somebody when they're missing their best players, obviously probably their 2 best players, well, we probably have to count Al Horford, which is fine. But anyway, they're without SGA, they're without Lou Dort, and to take on Minnesota isn't really that big of a task because Minnesota is terrible. I like getting to MALEDON at 4,800. He's not the last Oklahoma City Thunder guy that I'm going to talk about, but we're going right back to them again. They were the heavy chalk in their previous game, and it's not going to change now with Dort out. Next up, number 2, I'm going to DARIUS BAZLEY, power forward eligibility, 5,600, projected for almost 34 fantasy points. He's in the optimal lineup 38% of the time. Basically the same sort of thing for MALEDON as it is for BAZLEY. 35 minutes. He's a 0.96 fantasy point per minute guy when SGA, Dort, George Hill are off the floor. This is even below average usage, 19%. But that's 16 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, almost 2 stocks, and that same awesome matchup against a Minnesota Timberwolves team that could quite possibly be the worst team in the league, even worse than Oklahoma City. This line is actually relatively close, even with OKC missing all of these guys. There's a potential that if some of the questionable guys for Minnesota end up ruled out, that all of the value on the slate exists in this game, which would be a very interesting sweat. But for now, DARIUS BAZLEY at the 2 spot, 5,600, just not the right price tag for someone picking up so much from a points perspective, from a rebounds perspective, just with everybody out. And before we get to number 1, one last reminder, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get the updates to my sim results. Well, this one's pretty easy. Number 1, HAMIDOU Diallo, shooting guard eligibility 5K, projected for 37. The goal's 39. He's in the optimal lineup 51% of the time. That is slightly more than a coin flip. 33 minutes. He's normally a 0.96 fantasy point per minute guy. He's a 1.1 guy in this scenario. We're talking 25% usage, 20.7 boards, 3 assists, 2 stocks, a steal and a half, really. Looking great on FanDuel. And as I've beaten into everybody's heads now, a fantastic matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's impossible to avoid these guys. The minutes are so firm. They have to play a ton regardless of the outcome of the game. They're just short on that many bodies. Pokusevski no longer with the team either, a guy that had been in the rotation. So Diallo, BAZLEY, MALEDON, you're going to a lot of Oklahoma City today, but Diallo in particular, the number 1 contender for tonight's slate. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. Those are my NBA DFS contenders on FanDuel for Friday, February 5th. There's those Fs again. It's tripping me up. I am on the strategy show this morning, but no live before lock tonight. So keep your eyes peeled for the strategy show. And then that's it. No more contenders videos until Monday morning. So good luck today, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you again Monday morning for another edition of the Contenders.